So what a week 7 it was. And he has the top 5 receivers of the week. And number 1, Tyler Lockett. He was a guy I said going into the week I was trying to trade him. And thank God no one accepted some of the dumb offers I offered out there. But I also said buy him low. And what a week and what a game. I don't know if we've seen a game like this ever in fantasy. Tyler Lockett, 15 catches for 200 yards and 3 receiving touchdowns with 52 fantasy points. What a performance it was for Tyler Lockett. The last 2 games he was struggling. He only had 5 and 8, and this is PPR leagues we always talk about. But anyway, 52 points, and this guy just exploded, man. For the Seattle Seahawks, is Lockett. What a game it was. He got the ball early and often. That first drive, he had 13 points already. Wilson was looking for him all night. Patrick Peterson was Metcalf. But the point is, Tyler Lockett, this guy could explode anywhere, anytime. And yeah, he'll have some down games here and there, but last night, he just took it off on the Arizona Cardinals. So that's the second 35-plus fantasy game of the year for Tyler Lockett. And now he don't have a bye anymore. He's got Frisco and Buffalo coming up in the next 2. But this guy, he's right up there at 1 or 2 in fantasy points for wide receivers. The speed, the timing, the route running, him and Russell, perfect combination for the last 4 or 5 years at least. And once again, we saw it on display last night. The timing routes, the trickery, the running. It was just a great game for Lockett and Wilson. And these 2 guys on the same page, and they're very dangerous. And that's why the Seahawks are 5-1. And that's why you saw a game like that last night. Lockett with a 200-yard game. The game of the year, and probably the game in the last 10 years for any receiver. I would say at the receiving position, the second guy, if he could just stay healthy, man, the whole season, he could be the number 1 receiver in all of fantasy football, and that's Davante Adams. He came back with a vengeance, him and Aaron Rodgers, lighting up the Houston Texans. He ended the day with 44 fantasy points, 13 catches, 196 yards, and 2 receiving touchdowns for Adams. And I feel like you get 1 or 2 of these 40-plus fantasy days from Adams. And yesterday, it was on in the dome, indoors, that turf, quicker routes. He looked 100% healthy. No one could cover him. Adams and Rodgers, one of the best duos in the league. And once again, they put it on display. And with that performance, Adams, he's right back up there in top 10 in fantasy points for receivers. And he missed 2 games, and he also had a bye. So Adams, in 4 games played, he's on a crazy pace. Is Davante Adams. The third receiver who had a great game yesterday was DeAndre Johnson, coming off for injury. Everyone was high on the emerging rookie Chase Claypool, who had 5 touchdowns, in his last 2 ball games. But DeAndre Johnson came back. He was a target machine for Ben Roethlisberger, and once again it showed. He had 15 targets, 9 catches for 80 yards, and 2 touchdowns for DeAndre Johnson. He's the man over there in Pittsburgh. We saw Smith-Schuster. He got back in the fold a little with 9 catches for 85 yards. But Davante Johnson, he's their possession man. He's their best route runner. And he showed it again yesterday, why he was the 3rd best receiver on the day with 29 fantasy points for Davante Johnson. He's in a great offense. And now in the next 2 games, he's got Baltimore going to be tough. But then Dallas, who everyone could just rip up and get a big fantasy day. Like I always say, if you see Dallas on the schedule, you're playing anybody you have on that team versus Dallas. And then the 4th receiver, what a day he had, was this receiver, was A.J. Brown of the Tennessee Titans. Since he came back, he's been a complete monster, is A.J. Brown. And once again, he's showing the power and the breakaway speed. 6 catches for 153 yards and a touchdown, including a 72-yard touchdown where he did like a slant route, pushed the defender off, and he was off to the races. So Brown, a big receiver, big body, Just his problem's been if he could stay healthy. But once again, a great performance by Brown. And since he came back the last few weeks, he's been over 20 fantasy points in all 3 of his games. And also, he has 5 touchdowns in his last 3 games as A.J. Brown. He's a bona fide stud and a certified animal at the receiving position. And now he's got Cincinnati and Chicago coming up. This guy's a low end to a high 2 receiver the rest of the way. And no one could cover this guy. He's a matchup nightmare with his height and quickness and his physical attributes. So A.J. Brown once again showing he is a beast in this league. And the 5th and final receiver with a great game is Tyler Boyd. Him and Joe Burrow all season, they've been hooking up and making some big plays. And Boyd, a whopping 13 targets for 11 catches, 101 yards, and a touch. And he also had 16 passing yards thrown in there. So Boyd with a 27-point fantasy day. He's a great route runner, good hands. They got 3 solid receivers there in Higgins, Green, and Boyd. The field opens up. Cincinnati's going to be trailing a lot in ball games. So this production for Boyd, I'm not surprised. He had a couple off games this year. But that's his 3rd game of the season, over 20 fantasy points. So Tyler Boyd, very solid on the year. With this performance, he cracked 110 fantasy points on the year for a receiver in 7 games. That's pretty solid. He's got Tennessee and then the bye. So Tyler Boyd, he's a good number 2 to 3 or flex receiver. Every week you should be putting him out there in your fantasy lineups. Those are the top 5 receivers of week 7 of the fantasy football season.